All right, so I was talking with a friend who is teaching Latin, and as we were talking, I realized how many people don't realize how Latin and English grammar really do link together. So I thought, gosh, you really need a crash course in just English grammar in order to help you understand the Latin grammar, and vice versa. The Latin grammar also helps you understand the English grammar. So they really work hand in hand. And so I thought, I'm just going to do a video on grammar crash course. So I'm going to do it my best sitting here. Normally I'd probably do it on my big whiteboard, but my boy's trying to play video games and I'm going to let him. So I'm going to do it up here on my smaller board, so bear with me, and I'm going to give you a very, very crash course in basics of grammar. I was looking things up and I know there's so much more that I could go into, but I really want to keep it very basic. For those of you who have time, Shirley Grammar is an excellent resource for everything that I'm teaching. There's also several websites that you can find online, and I'll probably mention those in another video. There's all kinds of great stuff out there. So you just have to really know how to look for it. So anyways, the first thing that I was going to talk about was the basics of a sentence. So in the basics of a sentence, I'm going to show you here. I've got a very basic sentence. Ooh, let's see if I can get that in there. There we go. And in the basics of a sentence, you have a subject and a predicate. And this is a very basic sentence. If I can get my fingers right. The boy ran, okay? So basically, your subject is boy and your verb, which is your predicate, is ran. So your subject is, and we call a complete subject the subject with all the parts before it, and we call the predicate the verb with everything that goes with the verb. And I'm going to say everything that goes with the verb because it doesn't necessarily always come after the verb, which we'll talk about more later. Okay? So every sentence, if you learn Shirley Grammar, must have a subject, a verb, a capital letter, an end mark, and must make sense. So there you go. The boy ran does fit. So when we classify this, we say, or we do our question answer flow, it says the boy ran. Who ran? Boy. Subject, noun. What is being said about boy? Boy ran, verb. The. We know that the is an article adjective. Now an adjective asks what kind, which one, or how many. So we could say which boy? The boy. And we know that is an article adjective. I'll talk about article adjectives in just a minute, but we would mark that article adjective, okay? And so that is your basic sentence. And when we diagram this, we put our subject, I'll show you here in just a second, in the first part, and our predicate, which in this case is just ran. And then anything that modifies these words or defines it, you attach it to it. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So boy is our subject, ran is our predicate. Very, very simple, very, very basic. The tells us which boy, the boy. If you had an adjective or an adverb that modified, or an adjective that modified boy, you would go ahead and attach that to here. So the big boy, the tall boy, whatever it is. If you had your adverb, you know, that modifies or defines your ran. So an adverb asks how, when, where. Ran how? Crazily. Ran fast. Ran away. Those all would get attached to ran, which we'll go over some more in a minute. So prepositional phrases also are defining. So a prepositional phrase can be an adverb or an adjective. Again, an adverb asks how, when, where, why, under what condition, and to what degree. We don't mess around as much in the basics and under what condition and to what degree, but sometimes we ask why, and a lot of that will come in with the because clause. But we're not going to deal with that at this moment. Sorry, it's hard to give a crash course when there's so much to teach on this. So a prepositional phrase, if you learn preposition jingle, you've got aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, among, around, at, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, but, by. There's a whole list of them. I would definitely refer you to Shirley Grammar for this. There is a jingle for it. The kids memorize it, and you learn all 49 prepositions. But you can also think of the piece of like cheese or tree or whatever, and a lot of times this is what we draw for the kids when we're starting to teach prepositions. So a bird could be on the tree, at the tree. A squirrel could be under the tree, in the tree, through the tree. They all go kind of with something. They can go, you know, in, at, by, behind, between, below, beside. So think of a tree. We always thought of a piece of cheese with a mouse, you know, that kind of a thing. And that helps you to think of a preposition. So a preposition is in. In what? In the tree. So that is your object. In what? In the house. And that's usually what you can ask with the preposition. We can put prepositions in many different places based on what it is defining. So if it's an adverb, it's going to answer either how, when, where, or why. So where did the boy run? He ran into the house. I'm going to write this on my board here and show it to you. This is modifying where he ran. He ran into the house. Okay, could also answer how. How did he run? He ran in a frenzy. Where? He ran away from the house. You know, whatever it is. So it can define, he ran from the house. There we go, that would be. So that can define that. Now, with an adverb especially, it doesn't necessarily have to go in front of the verb or after the verb. It can actually go in the beginning of a sentence. So, in the backyard, the boy ran. Now, does that mean that in the backyard does not go with ran? We have to ask questions for that. The boy ran where? In the backyard. So therefore, it still goes with ran. The questions really help tell us what each prepositional phrase goes with. So in the backyard, the boy ran. Okay? So that can kind of go in front. The boy ran in the backyard. It could go in the back. Okay, so it could do either one, but it still belongs to ran because it tells us ran where, and an adverb modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And so in this case, it can't define boy because boy is not a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And we can't say boy where, boy how, boy when. It doesn't make sense, right? But ran where, ran how, ran when, that makes more sense. So the questions go with it. Now, if it's an adjective modifies a noun or a pronoun. So an prepositional phrase could define boy, right? Because it modifies a noun or a pronoun. I'm actually going to restructure this just a little bit so I can actually fit an adjective in here. And we can have several prepositional phrases in one sentence too. So it's important to know your prepositional phrases, and I'll explain a little more in just a minute and go into more detail. So an adjective is going to ask how, or what kind, which one, how many. So which boy? How about the boy in the blue shirt? I gotta make sure I write this out correctly. Okay, so you can see here the boy in the blue shirt. Which boy? The boy in the blue shirt. What kind of shirt? It's actually, the preposition is in shirt. What kind of shirt? Blue. Okay, so that is defining, that's actually modifying or defining shirt. It's which shirt? Blue shirt. Or what kind of shirt? Blue shirt. Okay, so the boy in the blue shirt. Now, when it's an adjective, it really does have to be attached to whichever noun or pronoun it is modifying. We can't just put it into any part of the sentence. Now, it's important to know this because once we get into Latin, that can be a little different. The endings actually determine which one to go with, but we won't talk about that right now. So it is important to know that in English, the adjective must go with a noun or a pronoun. So it is going to say, you know, like the boy in the blue shirt or the big boy. It's going to go with whatever it's modifying the adjective is. Okay, so when we look at a sentence, so I'm going to write this out. The boy in the blue shirt ran into the backyard. In order to get to the basics of this sentence, we have to know that there are some basics in this sentence. We want just the subject and the verb, typically when we are trying to find the most important parts of a sentence, okay? So what we do is we put into parentheses, some grammar programs will have you cross it out. We're going to put in parentheses our prepositions. We do the parentheses. That's what Shirley Grammar has taught us, and that's what we do. I like that because they can still see it's still part of the sentence, but it's not the most important part. Now we can really get down to the basics of our subject. Who ran? Boy ran. Subject, noun. What is being said about boy? Boy ran. Verb. The article, adjective. And that is how we would mark it. Okay, if we continue with prepositional phrases, in preposition, in what? Shirt. Object of the preposition. What kind of shirt? Blue. Adjective. The article, adjective. Into preposition, into what? Yard. Object of the preposition. What kind of yard? Back. Adjective. Or which yard? Backyard. Adjective. The article, adjective. So I've got this all classified out. I've got it diagrammed out. You can see how where things belong with what. And I see that's already taken longer than I thought. So I had my whole thing planned out to do a little bit more, but I'm going to have to stop there, and we'll talk about some more of the sentence structures in just a minute. Bye.